Welcome, everyone. I'm Senator Melissa Hurtado, and I represent California's 14th Senate District, which stretches through the Central Valley from the city of Fresno all the way down to the Grapevine. This region is 70% Latino, with many working in agriculture. California is experiencing both a water and energy shortages that could create a food crisis for all Americans. Today, you will hear from community leaders that are the hardest hit. Not only do they disproportionately face water shortages, they also face extreme heat and power outages. As we listen today and after this discussion, I want us to leave thinking about water beyond our present challenge, because a recent study suggests that over the next 50 years, the freshwater supply will decrease by 1/3. And as we know here in the Central Valley, food grows where water flows. And we grow 2/3 of the nation's fruits and nuts and 1/3 of the nation's vegetables. And we're also number 2 when it comes to rice. We're number 2 in the nation when it comes to milk production. And so California, particularly the Central Valley, has a lot to do with food and the American food supply chain. And we know here that water is not just a human issue. It's not just an economic development or environmental issue, but it's a peace and security issue for us as well, and really across the nation. Before we get into the panel, I'd like to bring up a few housekeeping issues. Questions can be submitted directly in the chat. I will do my best to moderate and ask your questions as they are submitted. But if we miss any, there will be time afterwards to ask the remaining questions. And I'd like to start by introducing our speakers today. We have the mayor of the city of Avenal, Alvaro Preciado. We have Anthony Lopez, Avenal city manager. We have Scott Taylor, general manager for Lamont Public Utility District. Frank Galvis, board member for Tiviston Community Service District. We have mayor for the city of Orange Cove, Victor Lopez. And we have councilman for the city of Orange Cove, Esperanza Rodriguez. And with that, I would like to kick off this press conference with the mayor of Avenal. Mayor Preciado, please feel free to begin when you're ready.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Senator, and colleagues, everyone in attendance. I'm representing the city of Avenal in Kings County. We're a small rural community on the southwest side of Kings County. And our water allocations were dropped drastically for this fiscal water year. We're only supposed to get 25%, which equals to 600 acres feet. Last year, we were allocated 2,100, so we had to request additional 500 acres, which we used 400. So this year, with 600 acres feet compared to 2,500 from last year, we're really short on water. I would like to, I don't know if it was right.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mayor Preciado. As you can see, we also have a cell phone tower issue as well in the Central Valley, but I'll go ahead and hand the mic over to Anthony Lopez, Avenal City Manager.
Thank you, Senator Hurtado. Yes, my name is Anthony Lopez. I'm the city manager for the city of Avenal. I was recently appointed in October, so this is my first rodeo with all this water issues, but I've been an Avenal native my whole life. And as we like to say here in Avenal, water conservation has been a way of life. Avenal has been metered since the 1930s, so all our community and residents know that water is a precious resource and know not to waste it. Just to reiterate a little bit what Mayor Preciado was saying, that our water comes from the canal through the USBR, United States Bureau of Reclamation. We're contracted 3,500 acre feet per year, which is, in comparison to some other communities and metropolitan areas, that's minute. But for here in Avenal, usually we utilize about 2,400 acre feet, but we never really get 2,400 acre feet. Usually USBR will reduce allocations 75, 50% was what the initial allocation was this year. And then as of June 1st, they reduced it down to 25%, leaving us with 635 acre feet for the remainder of this year as of June 1st. So based on our calculations, we're utilizing about 7 acre feet for our 10,000 residents plus another 3,000 to 4,000 inmates at the Avenal State Prison. So at that rate, we'll be technically out of water by August. Based on what's happened in the past, since this isn't the first time Avenal's gone through this, the community has had a good relationship with the USBR in terms of receiving additional allocation. But the unfortunate side of that is that we're always having to basically fight for the water. Other communities do have a little bit of a larger allocation, so they don't have to request as much. But for us, 635 acre feet to August is not going to get us there. As I said, typically we use about 2,500 acre feet. And it's very disheartening to know that that's our allocation, given that we've put so much work and effort in planting new trees to help our environment. A lot of money has gone into housing. We have 2 new housing developments, one that will have 120 new homes and another with about 90 to 100 as well. So as we're adding and growing, it's hard to see where this is all going to come to a head, where we just don't have enough water for the entire community. And even so, as of May 27th, we've been under our Tier 3 water conservation rules, where we're requesting all residents to only water 2 days a week. Because this is, again, not the first time it's happened. We do have a lot of residents who've just basically let their lawns die. They've gone to dryscaping. We do have a number of community members who are trying to save their lawns, but it's a difficult process. And we've had to resort to fining some of our residents if they're not using water on their appropriate days or excess water usage. So it becomes a dire situation. I know, at least in the short history, the last 10, 15 years, the allocation has never gone below 50%. So what this means for the future, I don't know. We're definitely trying to work with our partners, obviously at the state level, federal level, here locally with the state prison, just finding ways we can conserve more water, find other water sources. Because for us, wells or buying water from other contractors just isn't an option. Our city's main business is water, but it's a precious resource and it's very expensive. And we don't want to pass that on to our community members or hardworking laborers. So hopefully that's a good gist of it.
Well, thank you, Anthony. And I just kind of want to ask everyone that's speaking here today to also just talk a little bit more about what the reduction of water allocations means. I know we talk a lot about acre foot and acre feet, and but what does that mean? How does that translate, and how does that impact the people that you all represent? And I'm sure there's going to be more questions on what that exactly means as we move along. But at this moment, we will go and hear from Scott Taylor, who is the general manager for the Lamont Public Utility District.
Okay, thank you very much. First off, I want to apologize for not having my video camera functioning, one of the drawbacks of a small agency. Briefly, our issues may be a little bit different than the others. Lamont is a very small community, about 20,000 people, primarily Hispanic. Farm worker is the residencies or the residents that live here. Our issue is primarily the ability to provide the water. We operate on groundwater pumping, and our infrastructure over time has become seriously dilapidated through a host of reasons. So for us, the issue is trying to actually provide that water. To give you a brief example, we have a total of 7 wells. 5 of them are contaminated with TCP. All of them are over 70 years old, 70. The life expectancy of an average well is around 50 years. Currently, we have one of those 7 wells is currently completely down, non-functional. So one of our major water sources no longer exists. So for us, the struggle is infrastructure and actually providing that water through ground pumping as opposed to state water allocation. So it's a little bit different for us. The biggest issue we find is trying to get the state water board to forgive me for being so colloquial, but to function as a state water board. And I'm not going to get into the politics side of it too much, but lots of money has been allocated by the governor, $130 million a year for 10 years, various funding resources, Prop 1, Prop 68, Safer Water, all these different opportunities. Yet the truth of the matter is, not only is the water not flowing from those other agencies that you heard from, but neither is the funding. And the truth of the matter is, without funding, especially for small agencies like mine, like the others, no funding is no water. So for us, it comes down to, it's a race of how do we fund the water, or does it just dry up like a desert? And quite honestly, we're headed there. Like I said, one of our wells is completely down, and we're in the peak of summer. And I don't know what the last 5 days has been 100 plus in the Kern County area. That's where we are. So, that's our dilemma, and that's our biggest fight, is just trying to take care of severely disadvantaged communities that, whether you like it or not, and for a host of reasons, aren't able to take care of themselves. So that's our biggest struggle, is trying to find funding that we know exists, but for whatever reason, and forgive the pun, it takes an act of Congress to get it, and even that doesn't release it. So I don't know if the other agencies face those same struggles, but we certainly are.
Thank you, Scott. And up next, we have Frank Galvez, board member for Tiviston Community Services District.
My name is Frank Galvez. I'm a director of the Tiviston Community Service District, Special Water District. We currently serve around 700 people and have been without running water for 11 days. Our community well failed due to the drought. Living without running water to bathe the children of our community, having to flush the toilet with a bucket of water, driving out to our nearest friend or relative to take a shower is a hardship on this community, especially to our senior citizens. We are working with our state and local leaders to supply water to our community via tanker trucks and bottled water. We have experienced water shortages due to water table dropping over the past 14 years. We are currently working with Provost and Pritchard Engineering Company to complete our well number 4 project. Well number 1 was constructed in 1959. Failed. Well number 2 was constructed in 1978. Failed. Well number 3 was drilled in 2017. That's the one that currently failed. We need the Water Resources Board to expedite our funding for well number 4, which is scheduled to be completed by 2022 or 2023, and will modernize our community water system. I agree with Mr. Taylor about the funding. However, we have been in line over the years, and as the funding has become available, we have been assisted. Our immediate solution is to have the city of Bixley incorporate the community of Tiviston into their water system. We share the same zip code, 3256. Bixley is located 4 miles north of Tiviston Community Service District. Water tanker trucks are having to haul water from Porterville, about 20 miles from Tiviston. Many Western states have to find solutions to their drought situation. Over the next few years, it will affect all of us, as you mentioned earlier, farming, food, etc. It's absolutely critical that we address this water crisis by funding dams to conserve water and promote water system infrastructures. So on behalf of the Tiviston Community Service District, I would like to thank the State Water Resource Division, Self-Help Organization of Visalia, Senator Melissa Hurtado, for coming to our aid at this critical time of need. We really appreciate your help. Thank you very much.
Thank you for all your hard work, Frank, and difficult times that we're all facing at the moment. We appreciate your testimony today, and Up next, we have the Mayor of Orange Cove, Victor Lopez. Do we have the mayor? I think we may have lost him. Do we have council member for the city of Orange Cove, Esperanza Rodriguez? I think we've lost her too. Okay, well, at this moment, we'll, go ahead and take questions. If there's any questions from the media and the press, really want to stress and emphasize that we talked about a couple of things here on this call today. One is water allocation, and then the other one is wells and inadequate, funding to have that type of infrastructure. And then the other thing that was also mentioned was storage, water storage, which is also a big piece to solving the water crisis. So we do have a question, and let me take a look. Sorry. So there's a question for Tiviston Community Service District. Frank, the question is the Pixley Water District your source of water, or is something else? Is water available for agriculture but not for drinking water?
No, we're independent of
I'm sorry, you're breaking.
We are independent of Pixley at this time. When we were arranging for the funding for this last well, it was mentioned that it would be possible to connect Pixley to Tiviston, which is only 4 miles away.
So just to summarize, because I know that you were breaking off a little bit, you said that Tiviston is independent, and there was an effort to try to connect Pixley to Tiviston, and that's what I gathered from your response.
Yes, and I believe that once we complete well number 4, modernized well system, that they may be more acceptable to reaching out to us.
Okay. And the other question they had is water available for agriculture but not drinking water in your community?
Well, we're a special district. The water is shared throughout the community. And we're a special district. And on a recent meeting, we emphasized the water that we have now being brought in be used only for humans, not animals.
Okay. Thank you for that. I have another question here. Where is funding going to and could come from for water infrastructure projects? And if anybody wants to answer that, I will. Scott, do you want to touch on that?
I'd love to. To answer their question, where is the funding going to and could come from? I'll start from the source. Where the funding could come from is from Sacramento via the State Water Board. Now we know, and I'm sure the reporters or the media knows that Newsom, a couple of years ago, last year I believe, approved $130 million for the next 10 years. $130 million a year for the next 10 years. I believe that was either last year or 2 years. Well, approving and disseminating are two different things. So one of the answers is, where could it come from? It could come from that $130 million that he approved. There's also funding under what's called Proposition 1, where money could come from and funding could come from. There's also another source called Prop 68, which I mentioned previously, so I don't want to be repetitive. So that's where it can come from. And so then the other answer is, where does it go to? It goes to districts I can only speak for mine, like mine, that are severely disadvantaged. Our median household income here is $34,000 a year. Now do the math, folks. That's $3,000 a month gross. Take out 10, 12% taxes, so you're living on $500 a week. There's nobody on this phone call that can live on $500 a week. But a Hispanic family, an average of 4, is doing just that. So that's where that money could go, is to help improve infrastructure, rebuild infrastructure. Like the one guy said, Mr. Galvez, actually build him a well or assist in consolidation. So it's not just about Lamont. There's hundreds of us. Arvin's another one, many, where that's where the funding could go to. Now, just briefly, and this is an editorial, what's the holdup? I would hope one of the reporters would say, what's the problem? Here's the problem. We've got bureaucracy 10 million miles long. And I'll give you a brief personal example that's happening in Lamont. I was told by the State Water Board, I have a phone conference every month. They said it takes over 2 months to review any given document of any length, short or small. Well, I was quoted in an article, and I'll send it to Melissa, and she can disseminate it to the reporters if they want to see it. I was quoted in an article, and I'll repeat it. I can tell you that if any of my Lamont Public Utilities staff took 2 months to review a document to get people funding or assist in funding our water, I would fire their ass. Just that simple. So where's the trouble? Where does it come from? The state. The money's there. It's already been approved. It hasn't been apportioned, but it's been spoken for. Where does it go to? It goes directly to disadvantaged communities, Hispanic people, all kinds of, it's not just Hispanics, all kinds of color that are picking your food, packing your food, planning your food, washing your food, delivering your food, and for some of the folks, probably cooking it for them. That's where the funding goes, to provide water for those folks. Because nobody in this phone call or this conference or this teleconference is drinking poisoned water. No one. So that's the answer to that question.
Thank you, Scott. Mr. Lopez, Anthony Lopez, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, just very briefly. So in terms of funding, I know us as a city, we don't have the budget to do these large scale projects of, upgrading potentially like our wastewater treatment plant to provide purple water to help with landscaping, reduce our dependency on the potable water system for our allocation. But one project I can speak for, we have an 18-inch transmission pipeline that's being funded through Prop 1. That project started about 4 or 5 years ago. It was approved, so I know the approval process does take a while, as Scott mentioned, but even once it's been approved, it's an entire process, the construction phase of design, environmental, which is now 3 years going of environmental studies that we've been having to comply with, which is totally understandable. But until all that process is complete, is funding actually released for us to finally do some of the work. The design's been done. Some of the requirements of such as being American built items, that's been another hurdle that we've worked through. Again, that took 2 or 3 months as well, just to kind of get that approval for some of the items that aren't American made. So it is a process, and this is a pipeline that's been needed 10 years ago. We finally were able to find a funding source 5 years ago, and we're hoping we can get started next year. So it's a 6-year-long process. So even though the funding, and there is a lot of money out there, the State Water Revolving Fund, Safe Water, there's a lot of funding out there, but to even get it and then the process of actually implementing it still can take a few years, which unfortunately just puts an even bigger strain on our system and more work and rehabilitation that will be needed down the line.
Okay. Thank you. And Mr. Galvez, how many people or customers do you serve in Tiviston?
Approximately 120 meters, about 700 people.
So 120 meters and approximately 700 people or 700 homes.
People. It's about 120 meters is a meter per house.
Okay. Oh. Got it.
Some meters back in the day had allowed to connect 2 and 3 houses.
Right.
Which will be be correcting once we get our number 4 well.
So we have a couple more questions, and I want to make sure that I get those answered. The next one is to me, which is, what are you doing at the State House to get water to these communities? I've been working on water since I got elected back in 2018, and I started off with SB 559. SB 559 was to allocate funding for the Frank Kern Canal. So the Frank Kern Canal is what provides a water delivery both for agricultural purposes and to communities as well. Well, that canal has had some issues with subsidence, and it's lost its carrying capacity by 60%. And so I was seeking to get state funds for that project to get it fixed. That also adds to the water shortages that the communities face. And so imagine we have one situation kind of overlapping another complicated situation where you are not getting enough water from delivered. And then on top of that, that water that is being delivered is being lost because of subsidence to these different canals. It was vetoed last year. I came back and reintroduced it again. This time I included some other canals that also need some repairs across the Central Valley. And those canals provide water to 31 million Californians. These are canals that needed to be fixed a decade or two ago, perhaps, and we haven't really been maintaining them as we should have, and so that adds to the drought crisis that we currently face and the water shortages that we face now, and into the future. And my biggest fear is that, much like just putting together a new well or two, that it's going to take 6 years or 13 years to get things fixed and to get them funded and get them fixed. I've also worked on a CEQA exemption for small disadvantaged communities in hopes to get communities like Lamont and Tiviston get the process moving along a little bit faster. I've also asked for the money that was that came from the bond that California passed a while back. It didn't approve one of the storage facilities that we were looking to get here in the Valley. And so I'm also pushing and seeking for that, for those funds to continue to come down to the Valley for water storage. So there's a lot of things that I'm doing on water and also just agricultural issues too, because what people don't really realize is, well, okay, I guess the quickest and easiest solution is to fallow land. Well, no, this is all tied into food security for the entire nation and really the world, if you really think about it. And so water security is food security. And so all things water and food and healthcare, they're all intertwined. And that's what a large focus has been for me. So thank you. And up next, I have the question is, did you say that Tiviston community has been without running water for 11 days?
11 days, correct. And we're projected to possibly have a well up again, depending on once we reinstall the pump within the next few weeks. But one of the things that I also want to mention, even though we have 120 connections, we also have probably 30 or 50 travel trailers, RVs, that people are living in. We're not code enforcement people, but we don't get to charge them for water. So that does affect the amount of money that comes into our district, especially now with COVID. We also have cattle in our community. You asked about ocean agriculture. I don't know. I'm not a code enforcement. I don't know how many cattle you can have in the backyard. Okay? So those are things that we need to do. We Teviston, we're in the infancy compared to Avenal. The water pipeline is talking about running. That's what we need to run between Pixley and Terrace.
Thank you. Thank you. And then the next question I have is, where's the canal that's lost capacity due to subsidence? That canal stretches along the east side of Fresno County, Tulare County, and Kern County. And that's the Bryant-Kern Canal. That's one of them. We also have the California Aqueduct, the San Luis Canal, and the Delta Mendota Canal, and those stretch along the west side of Fresno County and West Kings County. But they provide water also for Southern California and other parts of California too. Thank you for that question. And then, why was SB 559 vetoed? SB 559 was vetoed last year. The message said something along the lines of it needed to incorporate all the facilities that needed repair. And so I came back this year and introduced SB 559 with all the facilities, so that we wanted to make sure that we address the governor's veto. Okay, so I see there's no additional questions. I really want to just take some time to thank everyone for participating, for sharing your story. We obviously know how difficult it is in the Central Valley to be without water, to have to deal with 100+ degrees, and many of these families also having to deal with power outages and swamp coolers in this time of heat. It's a very difficult situation, but we thank you all. We thank the media as well for paying attention to us. Sometimes it feels like we don't get listened to, we don't get heard. And so we appreciate you listening to us all here. So thank you so much again, and we'll be in touch, everyone. Bye-bye.